Well, hi guys. Welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. And today, I have nothing prepared, but I want to give my thoughts about this past weekend's preseason matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars that ended in a tie. And I, of course, want to focus on the quarterback competition. In my opinion, right now, Spencer Rattler has once again taken the lead over Tyler Shuck to be the starting quarterback for the Saints. I want you to leave a comment and let me know how you feel. And unlike most Saints content providers, I will actually respond to your comments. Subscribe to my channel. You'll have another Saints channel ready to go. You don't have to skim through the home page looking for something. Just go to your subscriptions, click on me, and I'll have something to tell you. And we can have a conversation about it too. If you feel differently, I accept other people's opinions and I try to be fair about everything. So I hope I don't say anything too crazy. But right now, I think Spencer Rattler has the lead. I think Spencer Rattler should be named the starter. And I think we should treat Tyler Shuck as a rookie. And I'm not sure if we're going to get the answers we're looking for by the end of the season unless both quarterbacks play. I don't think we're going to get the answer if both quarterbacks play in the final preseason game. I mean, it's a lot more work to look at. We keep splitting time between these guys throughout the offseason. And what I've come to see through the first two preseason games is that our starting offense, or, as many players as we're going to play in these preseason games, considered starters. When I see these guys go out there, the first half of both games, I see ineptitude. I see a team that's out of sync. I see a team that still needs a lot of work. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that we haven't picked the starters and put them out there and given them a game plan to go with. And this is preseason. We're not seeing anything great. So, but all hope is not lost. In my opinion, I think both quarterbacks are looking fine. So, where do I get this opinion? Okay, I've been a Saints fan, since 1980, really since the 70s. I just didn't like them very much because we weren't any good. But I think about the quarterbacks we've drafted in the last several years. Hell, the last decade or two, maybe in team history. The only quarterback we ever drafted that turned out to be anything was Archie Manning. We've drafted a lot of quarterbacks over the last 50 plus years, okay? And none of them have turned out to be anything. The last few examples, I'm thinking of Garrett Grayson, Ian Book, Jake Hayner. So, in the last 2 years, we get Spencer Rattler, and then this past year, we get Tyler Shuck. Looking at both of these quarterbacks in the preseason, and from what I've been hearing from reports from training camp in the offseason, and these two guys, both of them, are really good compared to everybody else we've drafted in the last 50 years. I've even been told Archie Manning wasn't all that. So Archie Manning was okay, I guess. By the time I started watching the Saints, Kenny Stabler was our quarterback because we never had a winning record and our defense wasn't very good at the end of the 70s. Beginning of the 80s, we started to get better on defense. Kept waiting for that quarterback. Man, when Bobby Abear showed up, it was like, thank you, our prayers are answered. We have a competent quarterback. There's a lot of people out there that think Bobby Abear wasn't that good. Well, he had a bunch of winning seasons as a Saints quarterback, which was really good because nobody else ever did up until that point. And then you get to a place where with Aaron Brooks, and you're like, okay, well, Aaron Brooks might be a top 10 quarterback in this offense. I mean, that's what we're telling ourselves. We're just desperate. We finally get Drew Brees, 15 years of damn near perfection, and he wasn't perfect. Drew Brees got passes slapped in his face for the first 3, 4, 5 years he was here. He couldn't seem to find a passing lane. Every game, a couple of times, he'd get a ball batted down. And this offense, even under Sean Payton, would struggle for whole halves at a time before they finally put it together. And I just think it's crazy to be looking at these two young quarterbacks and having all of this perspective and thinking that either one of them is doing great or that either one of them are doing so bad that you got to give up on them. Man, Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler are way better than Jake Hayner, Garrett Grayson, Ian Book. I mean, you name any quarterback we've drafted. Yeah. So let's say Derek Carr was still our quarterback. Let's say this coaching staff declared Derek Carr the starter right out of the gate, and we knew he was going to be the starting quarterback. And we went and drafted Tyler Shuck with the second round pick. So Shuck and Rattler would be battling for basically the number 2 spot because Carr would have this starter gig lined up. Now, would we be so critical of these quarterbacks? I look at what Tyler Shuck's doing in preseason right now, and I'm thinking this is a good quarterback. This is a good quarterback, and I see a path where he's going to get better. He's going to develop, and yeah, rolling Tyler Shuck out to start a game isn't going to be like rolling Ian Book out to start a game. So I'm excited about Shuck. And then I look at Rattler and I'm like, hey, this guy's doing really good. I mean, you put him out there, you might win a game. Now, he's had 6 chances last year and with a bad team around him, and it didn't happen. We see great halves from Rattler, but we don't see a full 4 quarters complete game from Rattler. And I'm not sure if you would get that from a rookie Tyler Shuck right now either. So my expectations are low for either one. My expectations for the team are pretty low. I look at that easy schedule of ours and I think if we can put it together, if these coaches are really good, then we can win a lot of games on this schedule. Not that we're a great team, we just don't play a bunch of great teams in this upcoming year. The Giants might be better, New England might be better, but we might be better compared to last year with Dennis Allen. So I look at the quarterback competition and it is even. The preseason stats are basically identical. You've got some pluses and some minuses. I think Shuck's more accurate. I think that Rattler's going through his progressions faster. I think both of them struggle with pocket presence. If it's a designed run, Shuck is actually probably better. If it's escaping from the pocket and making a run happen spur of the moment quick, then Rattler's your guy. Uh, both of them have scored. Both of them have led the team to scoring drives. Both of them have a touchdown. Both of them have thrown an interception. Yeah, Rattler might have fumbled once, but Shuck has gotten sacked more. Rattler's made a lot more yardage happen on the ground. So it's really a coin flip. And I've always said I think this coaching staff's going to prefer Shuck since that's their player of choice. And if you're looking at the long game and you're looking at next year's draft and you're thinking we're not going to be that good this year and we're going to have a high draft pick with a chance to get a franchise quarterback, then you really want to know if you have a franchise quarterback on your roster. And these two players are so similar right now in output that it's tough. You're going to end up, I hear a lot of people now saying that both players are going to play this year. Both of them are going to get starts, and neither one of them are going to be very successful. So, yeah, we want them to develop, so we keep splitting time in the off season. We were splitting time with Hayner too, but now it's going to be Shuck versus Rattler splitting time. Are we going to see both of them in the last preseason game? Are we literally going to see both of them in the regular season? Because it's so close we can't make up our mind. It's going to be hard to tell if you have one or not. If you start one the entire year and let the other one sit on the bench, it's going to be hard to know. I mean, let's say Rattler's the starter and he plays the entire season. You're still going to be curious as to what Shuck can develop into, and vice versa. But are Rattler and Shuck better than what you're going to get next year in the draft? That's all projection too, because these quarterbacks still have to play a year of college ball, and you don't know what any of them are going to look like once they get into the league. Seems like there's about 6 or 8 of them that are as good or better than the two we have right now. This is all projection, so it's going to be impossible to know. Even when this coaching staff makes up their mind, we're still going to have that question. If Shuck starts and he plays the entire year, we're all going to wonder, well, what do we really have with Rattler? We haven't given him a chance. We don't see him out there with a starting lineup on the offensive line with the great two starting wide receivers and the tight end. We don't, and you might not ever see that, but we don't see it now. So what do I see overall from the team? The first half of both of our preseason games, we've looked pretty incompetent. I it's back and forth with the backups. I've seen a lot of good stuff from the backups, and I've seen a lot of bad stuff from the backups. There are certain players that are backups that are looking really good. But no matter what a semblance of a first team offense we throw out there in the first half of these games and primary backups, but we're not doing very much. What we've scored, I don't know what, 6 points? I don't know. So it's going to be impossible to tell because we need to get in a regular season where we're game planning against the team, where all of our starters are playing, and we have a game plan. And these head coaches, our offensive coordinator, our defensive coordinator, that they can put their moves to the test, can actually have a game plan and see what happens. So splitting time with the quarterbacks in the offseason right now, I think is a detriment, of course, to how the first team is going to look because they don't even know who's going to be the quarterback. How can everybody get on the same page when you haven't made your mind up yet? And it is really too close to tell. If Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler both play in the third preseason game, that might be the worst case scenario because that means this coaching staff still doesn't know. And in my opinion, they're choosing out of two guys that should have been third round picks and not quite sure if either one of them is your future at quarterback. So, God, man, it's frustrating to me. What's the best course of action? So I've decided after 2 games, Spencer Rattler has the lead. He's got a year under his belt. He's got 6 starts of real NFL regular season games under his belt. Let him be the starter and treat Shuck like a rookie. You're a rookie. You need a year to develop. If Derek Carr was the quarterback right now, Spencer Rattler would look great as a rookie. In my opinion, I think the Saints Nation would view it that way. That dude looks pretty good. He's not expected to start. He looks pretty good. We might be hearing people call for Shuck to start over Carr if Carr was still here. Of course, we got Rattler, and people seem to really love Rattler. And it looks like every now and then Rattler has a bit of magic in him. Shuck might be a better overall quarterback when it's all said and done, but Shuck hasn't shown any magic yet. Now, if Rattler's going to keep fumbling and throwing interceptions, and he took a lot of sacks last year, then we're going to need magic in order to be competitive. But how will the team respond? I think the entire team thinks both players are good. And I think that if both players play well, then the team can get behind them. And I think both quarterbacks have the ability to lead. And I think both quarterbacks are likable, probably enough to everyone in the room where either one of them could lead the team. But the team right now seems to be responding to Rattler. And that's that's an X factor there. So I know that uh, Kellen Moore has to recognize this. I, Kellen Moore smiles a lot when he does his press conferences, and he looks like he's a pretty cool, even tempered guy. We haven't seen him get really frustrated yet. I saw him look at the refs in the first preseason game when they should have called a PI against the other team. And I saw him looking at the refs like, really? And I was like, oh, here we go. It didn't happen. But, you know, that was the most negative I ever saw his face. But his face looked different after this second preseason game when we finished the game so strong and ended up coming from behind and tying it, having a chance to win it in the end out of nothing. There was a glow to Kellen Moore in that post game press conference. He was excited and he talked about the excitement of the players in the locker room. And that's what's going to win you ball games. I think Kellen Moore at that moment probably settled into the idea that even though Shuck might be his choice for reasons we can't even imagine because we're not there, we don't see every play, and we don't have all these coaches explaining everything in that meeting room of what's going on, who did what, and everything else. I'm pretty sure all those analytics, these guys are still tied. But man, I bet Moore realized at that point, hey, the team wants Rattler. So let's go with Rattler. The fans want Rattler. The team likes Rattler. We got some magic out there, even though it was against fourth stringers in a preseason game, which ended in a tie. It was still magical. Magical enough to put a smile on Kellen Moore's face. There was a glow there. So I'm leaning towards Rattler. And what would I do in this upcoming game? I would sit Rattler. I would declare Rattler hit the starter. Maybe you don't have to publicly, but I would sit Rattler and I would play Shuck the first half and I would play Hayner the second half. Shuck needs to work, and Spencer Rattler has 6, 7 games under his belt from last year. We're going to start giving the first team reps to Spencer Rattler, and I wouldn't give Shuck any first team reps this week. I would give Rattler the first team reps, sit him for the game, and start the season with Rattler. That's what I would do. Tyler Shuck is a rookie. Compared to all the other rookies we've ever gotten, Shuck looks pretty dang good. I don't need anybody else to tell me their opinion about it, and that's going to sway what I've seen. I've seen enough film breakdown. I've heard from enough people who have expertise in the quarterback field to know that both of these quarterbacks are doing good things so far. They're both screwing up, but they're both young, and that's what I'm talking about. You might end up with just a third round level type of quarterback who will be middle of the pack at best in the league. That's possible. I got to take care of a cat. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Treat Shuck as a rookie. Let Rattler have the start. Now, you play the first 4, 5, 6 games. You're 2-4. Maybe then you make the decision to put Shuck in there so you can see what you have out of both of them. I think that's the route I would go. I wish that one of these guys would perform so well that it would be undeniable and you got to ride or die. I wish it could go that way. If Rattler gets the start, the gauntlet of the schedule is the first 4 games. We can come out of that 2-2. I think you stick with Rattler and see what he's got. Then the next couple of games, when you're playing teams like the Giants and the Patriots, if uh, if, if you can't win those games, then you're like, okay, we've seen enough of Rattler. Let's give Shuck a chance because you got to know what you're going to have if you've got a future or not, and both of them could provide that future for you, and both of them need a shot to do it. I wish we could go a whole regular season with Rattler and then a whole regular season with Shuck and then make up our mind and then have a great quarterback class, you know, because you never know. There might be another great quarterback class in a year or two. But yeah, we've got to make up our minds. And I think a detriment to this team is not identifying a starter and letting this first team get cohesive. We have seen two preseason games so far, and we haven't seen like six of our greatest players, six of our best players. We haven't even really seen at all. Alvin Kamara, Eric McCoy. On offense, they're the best two players on offense. So how's the running game going to work? How's the pass protection going to work? We don't know without Eric McCoy out there. And of course, Penning once he comes back from injury. It's another piece. We've got a rookie left tackle. We've got a right tackle that's young, who's playing in his second position in 2 years. And yeah, I think when Eric McCoy's out there, all of this is going to work better, especially when Penning comes back if he's any good at guard. So Cesar Ruiz has to play better if he's got Eric McCoy next to him. And then, yeah, we need to work on the kinks. We need to work on how the rookie left tackle is going to work with whoever's playing left guard. With Eric McCoy there, it makes that better. And then over here, Taliesin Fuanga and Ruiz, they need to get on the same page and quick because neither one of them's missed time in the offseason. And yeah, this needs to happen. I'm certain Eric McCoy is going to make the situation better. And then Alvin Kamara. And we're trying to figure out about the running game. You're never going to have that until you have play calling and a good offensive line. And then, of course, the running backs, all these backups are looking okay, but Kamara's a different beast altogether. And then on defense, you haven't seen Devin Godchow, who's supposed to make our run defense better. I'm pretty sure he will. And we haven't seen it at all this preseason. He hasn't played. So Davin Godchaux and Case Young, we haven't seen him chasing after the quarterback for two whole games. That's supposed to be our best player up front. Then you haven't seen either one of your starting linebackers in Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Now the linebackers, the backups are doing great. But yeah, this team changes when Demario Davis is out there and Chase Young and Devin Godchow. And let's not forget Alante Taylor. We haven't seen at all. Justin Field, who we Justin Reed, pardon me, Justin Reed, who we haven't seen at all. And we only saw Julian Blackman for a handful of plays in the first game, and that was it. Kool-Aid McKinstry wasn't out there last week. He's probably not going to play this week. So we haven't even seen all of these players who were supposed to be starters and major contributors. How can we tell what this team's going to be when Kellen Moore's not allowed to call plays, regular season mode, and Brandon Staley, regular season mode? What does Kellen Moore look like as a head coach? When you finally make your choice at quarterback, but you have a starting offensive line with Eric McCoy, you have Alvin Kamara in the backfield, you have Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed playing every down, Juwan Johnson out there. That's when we're going to know what the offense looks like. And on defense, how can you tell when Brandon Staley has to make everything vanilla and he doesn't even have a star player out there in Alante Taylor or Chase Young or Davin Godchow or Demario Davis or Justin Reed or Julian Blackman? I mean, this whole Kool-Aid McKinstry, this whole team is going to look different. Right now, it's just practice. And it's hard to tell who's going to be the starting quarterback, who's going to be the quarterback. I think both of them look like they'll be okay, but I don't think either one of them is going to be the greatest quarterback in the league. So that's what I've got so far. If you think Shuck needs to be the starter, let me know in the comments. I'm not opposed to either one of them because like I said, I'd like for both of them to get a full season before I can even understand what we're dealing with here. Yeah, and time's ticking. If you really want a quarterback in next year's draft, you might just have to pick one anyway, regardless of who starts. I mean, what happens if Spencer Rattler starts and after the first four games we're 2-2, and then he wins the next two? Then you leave him out there and this easy schedule, he keeps winning games. What if Rattler starts the whole season and we finish 8-9? I think most people would think that's pretty good. Tyler Shuck, same thing. He starts and plays the entire season, and we end up somewhere around 7-10, 8-9. Would you have your answer? It's going to be tough. This team needs to get better fast. So I would like to use a first round pick on a position that's going to make a real difference. Bottom line is, yeah, I don't think we're going to be that good this year, and we're probably not going to be very good next year because we're going to have a young quarterback and we're going to have this competition, and then it's impossible to tell. I would pick Rattler. I would treat Shuck as a rookie. He's going to sit on the bench for a year. If we struggle through the first six games, then you give Shuck some opportunity. I think either one of them's going to struggle, and so you're not going to be 100% certain by the end of the regular season anyway. Unless one of them goes out there and does really, really well. And that's going to take time and that's going to take commitment. And if both of them are looking over their shoulder every other game, then yeah, yeah. The report card's going to say incomplete when the season's over with. And then if the Saints are in position to get a quarterback, you're going to have a competition again. Can you imagine if we draft a quarterback next year and then you have Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, and Drew Aller or Garrett Nussmeier in the room at the same time? One of them's going to have to rise to the top. Right now, the magic is with Spencer Rattler, but I see a lot of great things in Tyler Shuck. Whatever the team chooses, I'm there 100%. And like I said, either way, they're going to have to perform very well in order for us to even consider having our minds made up about whether we have a franchise quarterback or not. My God, if they go out there and struggle and we finish 6-12 or whatever it would be, and oh, but there's just every now and then you get a good half from Rattler every now and then, so maybe, and then you go ahead and pass on a quarterback in the draft because maybe, or with Tyler Shuck, the same thing. He's progressively getting better and better. He looked really good in the last four games of the year. So you pass on a quarterback. You're going to be passing on a defensive lineman, passing on an offensive lineman, passing on a wide receiver. You're going to be passing on a lot of players if you grab a quarterback. If you grab a quarterback, he, in the first round, he's got to be your starter. So you're going to go through the rookie growing pains again. This is where my mind's going. I didn't have anything prepared for this video. Just wanted to talk about our boys again, let you know where I stand right now. I think Rattler takes the first team reps this week. This is what I would do. Give Rattler the first team reps in practice this week. Sit him for the game. Let Shuck have a half. Let Hayner have a half. If you don't want to give Hayner a whole half, let Shuck have the whole game. Maybe you do that and treat Shuck as a rookie that has a lot of ability. Comparatively speaking to where the Saints have been drafting their whole uh, existence at quarterback, I think Shuck looks pretty dang good. And Rattler does too. So that's where we're at. We got a couple of mediocre quarterbacks battling to be our leader for a team that's not very good. But do we really know how good they are since we haven't seen all the starters I mentioned? Yeah, I think it'll be a rough going the first four games. A lot of people are saying maybe we can beat Arizona. Some people are saying maybe we can beat San Fran. Everybody swears up and down we're going to go to Seattle in week 3 and lose, and then go to Buffalo in week 4 and certainly lose. I think Seattle's the winner. I think that's the one we can win because of the coach. I know it Clint Kubiak does. He fails in the second half. That's what he did all last year. And that's what I expect Seattle to do all this year. So I kind of think we can win that road trip against Seattle. I might be crazy. I don't think Arizona's unbeatable. San Francisco's got more injured players than anybody right now. And like I said, Seattle seems like a weak link. Buffalo's the one that's going to tear us up. Of course, they lost to Chicago in the preseason 38 nothing. So all depends on the health of every team, including us. So I might do another video this week. Subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. Right now, I think the Saints are okay, and we're just not going to know until we have all our players out there and our coaches game planning. And with the quarterbacks, I don't think we're going to know for a couple of years. And that makes next year's draft very interesting. If we draft a quarterback in the first round next year, yeah, yeah. I'm an old guy. I don't know if I have 3 or 4 years of mediocre, we're growing and learning in me before we finally get to see a good winner out of this team again. So I'm hoping a lot from Kellen Moore as a coach, as a coordinator. Brandon Staley's going to have to surprise me. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping one of these quarterbacks looks so good that we know we have the future and he's actually a good quarterback and we can start winning some games after a nice draft under our belt next year. But yeah, I think we're not going to know. And then we're going to draft another quarterback and then we're going to have three young guys again and it's going to be a couple of years of learning and bumps and bruises before we finally get a good team. That's probably worst case scenario. Might be best case scenario if we get a great quarterback next year. You're just not going to know that for a long time. So, whew, there you go. That's what I got to think for this week. Maybe I'll do another one at the end of the week. Subscribe. Until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?